Okay, so this is the final exam review for the exam that is on Monday, and we all know that all of our assignments are due Monday as well, Monday, August 27th, by midnight on Monday. So you still have all day Monday to keep working on this stuff. All right, so tonight's real easy. You just get credit for attendance, and then you also get credit for knowing what's on the exam, hopefully. So you can use this credit next Monday night. So I have the exam with me. I'm going to pull the exam out so I can go over it with you. And I believe that this exam came out much easier than the Objective-C exam, which is kind of interesting. So the iPhone, iPad exam, well, it just came out easier because it's not Objective-C. And it was very hard to make it so that it didn't have any Objective-C in it, and that it was only iPhone-related stuff and iOS-related stuff. But you don't have any fill-in-the-blank questions like the Objective-C class has, or shall I say, short answer questions. These are all multiple choice questions, which you're going to love. I know the Objective-C exam came out, I believe, a little bit more difficult, unfortunately. But, you know, if everybody fails it, well, then I'll curve it. No. But this exam, no one's going to fail, so this one's not going to have a curve to it. So it's 25 multiple choice questions. So the exam is 25 multiple choice questions and is worth 25 points total. That's 1 point per question. And here, study the following concepts. And so let's see what we got going on here. Item number 1, I tried to make a list here before the class started, and I just uploaded this to the website, so I'm going to edit the list while I go through the list. You don't need to write any Objective-C code or answer any programming syntax or semantic, that probably should be lowercase, semantic questions about Objective-C. Not an Objective-C test. This is not an Objective-C exam. Okay. And is semantic misspelled? I guess it was. Syntax or semantic. There we go. So yeah, I'll be uploading a revised version of this as soon as I get done with it in a few minutes here. Alright, so question number 1 is about object orientation. So need to know, in fact, let me do this a little bit different here. No questions. Let's just go up here. I'm going to start a new list up here. You need to be familiar with object orientation as it relates to iPhone, iPad, iOS applications. What does that mean? The concept of the object, the concept of messages that are being sent to objects. We have that in the iPhone, iPad. You know, I mean, we create an object, we put it out there, and then we set properties of the object, like setting the text on a label, using a label as an object, kind of thing. Sending messages to objects is what I'm getting at with the first question. And also the second question. The concept of pointers. So let's see. I'll make this one the new number 2 here. The concept of pointers and creating instances of objects, for example, and a string. When we create a string, we use using an asterisk with the variable name, which is actually an object, a variable / object name. And we're reading and writing to an NS string, we're using a string, and we're populating the string with the objects. Also, the concept of the @ symbol. So be familiar with the concept of the @ symbol and how it is used. For example, the @ this string. acknowledge, or to basically, that's not really complete, but something is going to be equal to this. This would be equal at this string as an example. In terms of the usage of it, it's a directive if you're not familiar with the concept. Okay, so let's see. Knowing that, let's see, knowing that Objective-C is a dialect of C, and that it works with GCC, and that you can write C code inside of an Objective-C app, actually, that you can use C code and stuff like that. Let's see. See, I don't want to read you the questions, that's why I'm trying to get the concepts here. Messages, objects, let's see. The use of alloc and memory. So let's see. The use. Be familiar with the use of alloc and memory when using objects and components in apps. The concept of reference counting, what that means. We turned on automatic reference counting for app types and stuff. So be familiar or know the concepts behind reference counting and the automatic reference counting feature of Xcode. Oops, of Xcode. Hello, Xcode. So actually, that kind of goes along with the memory, alloc and memory. Actually, I'm going to include that one with number 6 because it's really kind of the same thing in terms of the topic area. So you don't actually have to know anything. You don't need to know anything about Xcode. You don't need to know anything about the current or previous version of Xcode, or how to navigate it, etc. It's not an Xcode exam, so some of you aren't even working with the current version, so it doesn't really affect you. I will add another comment up here when we're talking about memory. Be familiar with the use of alloc. I would also add retain, release, and memory management. Let's look at memory management. Put here. I'm going to also put here auto release as well in this list. Know the different terms associated with it, the different things with and without automatic reference counting, retaining, releasing. It's the basic concepts associated with memory management. That's what I'm getting at. There's a couple questions on that, actually, more so than I thought originally. So that's the end of page 1. Page number 2 deals with initializers and constructors. Oh, let's see. So let's see. Number 7. Know the concepts related to constructing object instances and the use of init and super and self. Those basic super self concepts associated with that. These are multiple choice questions, so you'll see some of the things they may not be asking about, but you'll see it as one of the answers. If you don't know what it is, you won't be able to answer correctly because you'll pick the wrong one usually. Super self, retain. The concept, and we covered this in class actually, the protocol. So be familiar with the protocol concept. Did we cover categories in this class as well? I'm going to put here protocol and category. The question actually is about protocols, but be familiar with a category just in case I missed it in another, because I believe I can't remember right now if it was on the Objective-C exam or whether it was on the iPhone exam. But so be familiar with the protocol and category concepts. What are they used for? And when or why? So let's see, number 9 is still good. You don't need to write any Objective-C code or answer any programming syntax or semantic questions with Objective-C. Okay, that's good. Number 10, no questions about Xcode, so familiar with it. Okay, we can get rid of this one. I already have this one in here. There are no questions about the development platform, such as the interface builder and the differences in the types of files between .m and... Okay, so there are questions. Let's make sure, actually. There's a polymorphism question. Know the concepts. Let me go back here for a second here. Let's make this one the new number 10. Be familiar. I'm definitely going to have to wait for the uploaded version of this, actually. Don't use the one that's up there right now. Be familiar with the concepts of general object orientation, such as inheritance. We know we inherit from view controllers, we inherit from NS objects, we can inherit using the dot, the colon and the name of the object. So inheritance, polymorphism, I spelled that correctly. The use of the generic reference ID as it applies to referencing objects dynamically. Stop me if as I go through this if something doesn't make any sense to you as well. So there are questions about the development platform. Let's see. Questions about that. I just want to get through the second page here. Let's see. Did I say anything about initializers yet? Yeah, I think I did. So that was page 2. Page 3. Protocol question. There's 2 protocol questions. Interesting. There is an interface builder question. So what is this next one? Be familiar with the concepts. Interface builder and different types of... Yes, okay, this one applies. There are questions about the development platform, such as the interface builder, and the different file types. Is there yes, there is actually a question on the .h.m concept, and also on XIB. Different file types, for example, .xib. That's actually a really easy question. .h and .m. Because that's probably the easiest thing to figure out. Actually, there's 3 questions on that. It looks like. Okay, interface. Okay, good. Wow. There's questions on objects such as. Let me see. Let's get rid of this here. Number 12. There are some questions about different GUI objects. such as NS button, NS buttons, labels, text boxes, text fields. So you don't have to memorize all of the different GUI components. It's a multiple choice question that's regarding some characteristics about the things that you would have known if you had done the assignments. And that's a question that would come out of the assignments. What is this one here? No basic object class concepts as example instances of objects. Yes, methods run on objects. Know how to run a method on an object. Know how to run a method on an object in the Objective-C style. Style, not dot notation. Okay. There are questions about, let's see, number 14. There are questions about ID, void, yes there are, as well as return types and other basic language features. Yes, that is valid. Let's see, no basic memory segmentation faults and garbage collection concepts. This here I'm going to cut and paste and put up here with the previous question here. Where's this one on garbage? Let's see. No basic memory, segmentation faults, garbage collection concepts. Let's see. We already have this stuff in here. Alloc, dealloc. Here, I'll just put here alloc, dealloc. Release and other memory concepts. No basic memory. Well, segment, garbage collection. Okay, this is not okay. This is not needed either. It's covered in this question here. Okay. I guess I didn't have to do anything with that. I just want to make sure I covered it already. No basic memory management stuff. Alloc, dealloc, segmentation, stuff like that. Yeah. Memory-related concepts. No basic GCC information like how to compile a program, including the correct framework info. Is that even on here? Let's take a look here real quick. I'll get that down the last page. No, this is kind of overkill, actually, this statement here. So, and I've already talked about the GCC, knowing that Objective-C is a dialect of C and was able to use it with the GCC compiler, which is a dialect of C. So we know that we can use a command line, no basic GCC. So this is basically referring to, we can use a command line GCC statement to compile the program, and it creates an object code for us. We don't actually have to use framework for it. This is an Objective-C question. So let's say just go like this here. No basic GCC info like how to compile a program. Actually, that's probably all to answer that question. The question is kind of weird. Know that you can use a GCC compiler to compile Objective-C code. And that's what Xcode is actually doing for you in the background. Interface builder questions, window question. Let's see, window GUI components. So what is this down here? Know some of the differences between Objective-C and C. Know that the plus and minus symbols means and how to use the parameters and data types. Yes, this one's valid. That would be knowledge to know. This concerning super self. Oh, I already got this in here. Super init self. Did I put init up here? Super init self. I'm rewriting my thing at the same time, which is. Did I put that in one of these questions here? These items here now in the current previous code. I think I said it. Oh, here it is here. No void self. Well, I'll leave it in here then. I thought I had mentioned this already, but perhaps I didn't write it down. miscellaneous concepts concerning what super means, what init means, what self means, and theory concepts. Retain, release concepts, and how to allocate, deallocate. We actually covered this one above there. So you know the concepts related to event-driven programming, as well as outlets and actions. That's a good one. Oriented methods. Concepts and procedures to interface with GUI components. Remember wiring components up from the XIB, from the XIB file, from the interface builder window. Control, drag, clicking, and creating IB outlets. And associated IB actions, one in the .h file, one in the .m file, that work together. That concept is definitely on the exam. And now I have to go back to the page where I was on. Yes, okay, so that would be, okay. Button question, just making sure I covered all the concepts here. Window, yes, there's nothing on the window here. Where am I going to put that in here? Be familiar with inheritance as classes and objects are using, I already talked about that one. Okay, so be familiar with the windows, views, and controllers. This concept is part of the model view controller, or model view controller concepts that you should be familiar with. Okay, we already did protocols, we already did interface builder. Don't need this one either. Let's see. Whoops, how did we get 17 in here? 17, 18. It's 19. I think I actually have this one in here already. Be familiar with NS naming conventions. I have this one in here already. Cut this one out. Making this into a better review. Where are those objects up here? Oh, here we go. There we go. That's what it's talking about. GUI components. So let me see if I've missed anything here. Document. Let's see. Be familiar with the different components. Let's see, for example, here. Know about the different app building tools or components. As an example, the inspector window, inspector, the interface builder, there's a thing called a document window actually too. You don't have to know all of the window types, but one of the multiple choice questions is going to ask you something about the multiple different windows that exist. You don't have to be familiar, however, with the layout as it is presented in each one of the different, because the layout keeps changing between all of the different Xcode versions, but there's always been, let's say for example, the library where you're getting your GUI components from, the interface builder that you're using to drag stuff on. The document window is actually what's called that panel that comes up where you're, I'll just put here, document pane or document window. That's what that window is called that holds the .h file or that holds the .m. Huh? It's like the class window, the document. It opens up documents that you have. They call it, they used to call it a file window. Now they call it a document window or something. I'm not sure. But don't worry, don't be concerned essentially with that. Inspector is where you are changing the properties that are associated with it. If you go through some of the Apple website stuff, you'll see they're using the same common naming with all of the different versions for all of those window components. It's one easy little question actually that's on that topic. Actually talks about the library as well. So. And what else do we have in there? I'm trying to remember what other windows go. There's a connection window too, actually. And then there's a, you know, the main screen. There's a library. There's a build phase and a build window as well. That you know you can put in core graphics and stuff. So here I'll add that in here. Document window. What did I say? Connectors. Connection window. Build something. I can't remember what it's called, but build window. I don't know. Where you can add in libraries, external libraries to the project. You know, it basically what Xcode did was throughout all of the different versions, they took all these windows and now they're all flattened out into one interface. In the old days, it's actually the current version you guys are working with, the previous one, you have little windows that pop up. The only difference between that and the current one is that the current one puts them all inside of the same interface. So they're not all separate windows, but they're all called the same thing. It's basically the tools that you're using to create those apps with. So that's what it's meant by that. It's just there's only one question on the entire exam that has to deal with that. So the rest of it's pretty straightforward. So what's not on the exam? So let's see. What's not on the exam? Let's see what's not on the exam. Coding. No source code questions. Yeah. You don't have to write code either. You don't have to write code either. No Xcode specific feature questions. Like, you know, compiling and running, and no emulator questions either. Specific feature questions. No emulator questions. Actually, no, I don't know if you guys were here, but no developer license or use on device questions. I'm not going to ask you about how to sign up for on device or use on device questions. No questions about how to sign up for a user account or anything. No objective C programming questions either. Outside of memory and the use of memory, which is kind of a concept for iOS as well as it is for non-iOS applications. And what else is not on the exam? It's a pretty easy exam, actually. One of the easiest ones I think I've put together. You guys will like this one. It's everything I just gave you so far, so it's not too bad. Let me just make another quick pass through, make sure I haven't missed anything. In fact, the questions are real short, too. A lot of memory questions, a lot of memory, retain, release, dealloc, auto-release, a lot of memory-related questions. There's a Coca touch question. Coca, actually it's Coca. In Coca, comma, blah, 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 blah. So, add this to the bottom. Be familiar with what Cocoa is as a library package of foundation tools for building applications. It's a very easy question, actually. In fact, it's getting at I can't tell you. It's a really easy question, too. I can't tell you any more on that. No, it's a really easy exam. Let's see. I think the exam's too easy. I should rewrite it. I'll rewrite it. No, I've covered everything. I've covered everything on here. I may not have covered what's not on here. Maybe I can finish that up a little bit here. Unless people have specific questions about what I have not mentioned so far. There's no app building questions. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, like, what do I mean by that? I mean, like, you know, how to create Hello World. You create Hello World by, you know, nothing like that. You know, like opening up a project template or nothing like that. Nothing on the templates. That's a good thing here. No questions. No questions on the project templates or on the controllers. View control. Well, on the navigation techniques, i.e. tab controller, tab bar, tab bars, scrolls, scroll views. I should have added image views, etc. Nothing on those specific items. So, let's see. Have I missed anything? Any particular questions you guys have? Now's your opportunity to say, is this going to be on the exam? Is that going to be on the exam?
In the PPT,
yeah?
Like, we have like conversion from string to number.
Oh, no conversion questions.
Like, in the class we have covered 4 projects, like reverse to string, temperature conversion, where like so all that.
No conversion questions or questions on any of the source code examples that were provided. No questions about, well, there's no programming questions, which is interesting. So no library questions, no programming related questions on library calls or syntax, or so nothing about like converting from text to string, and nothing on the assignments either. I will say the exam is pretty easy on library calls or functions, or using any calculations or conversions. No specific questions on the assignments. No specific questions related to any of the assignments. What else you got?
You said like there will be a question on .m and .h. So
in concept.
Just the view controller or the app delegation?
It's more on the lines of what they're doing once the implementation. The other one is the what do you call it? Interface. Like, I keep calling it a specification today. The concept of there being an interface and then an implementation is what and it actually has to do with a UI button or something like that. You know, it has to do with what code goes where, kind of thing. Not on a model view controller. Nothing about app delegates. No questions on app delegates or on what goes in each one of the files. No questions. Oh, see, I could have made this a little hard. I should take this list next time and use it as a list to create new questions. No questions on app delegate or on what goes into each file for the MVC concept. Model view controller concept. You do need to know that you have a view controller that's associated with the view, and then you're control dragging to wire the components. And then one is the interface. It's just the definition of it, the property that's created. And then no questions on property or synthesize either. No questions on that. That's an Objective-C class. I did covered that. So no questions. No questions on property or synthesize. Synthesize. I don't know if I spelled that right. Synthesize. Close enough. What else you got? You have some good stuff. If you think of something, you can also email me as well between now and Monday. But the rest of the class won't have the benefit of hearing it. So, what are we missing? Let's see. I think we're pretty complete, actually. I now see I've missed a lot of stuff I should put in the exam. But I'm not rewriting the exam. So. Save a version.
Any specific question related to NS responder?
Oh no. No questions about NS responder. No questions about NS responder. Or any of the other components, event components, event-driven components. Yeah, it's actually too easy. Yeah. This one here is more getting along the control, the view controller concept. Because you know when you put in a new window out there, you can create, actually can create a view controller with an XIB file in the newer version, but usually whether you do it manually or you do it the automated way, each one of the views is attached to or uses a view controller class that has a .h and a .m file, which is what this question is really getting at in terms of that concept. I will have tables, hopefully, or something set up for you guys to write on, so you don't have to use this primitive chair kind of thing. We'll have a desk, you'll have a desk or a table. Bring a pen or a pencil. It's going to be, just write on the exam, just like everything else I've done before. Maybe it'll only take you about an hour or less, I think, actually. It's not going to take you that long. You can start at 5 or you can start at 7. Want to come here before 8 o'clock. You want to make sure you give yourself enough time. This exam, I'm not kidding, is actually kind of easy. It's only 25 questions, and it's pretty lightweight, actually. In retrospect, I probably should have made it more challenging, but I'll give you guys a break because it is summertime as well. So if you show up around 9 o'clock, probably not going to be anybody here. So you want to show up, and if you want to, you can show up at 5. But probably better to show up around 6 or 7 because then you won't be in the rush of all the earlier people that are here for the Objective-C course because your class is really technically supposed to start at 7. So I'd shoot for 7 actually, and then probably get out by 8 at the latest. Maybe some of you will get out by 7:15 or 7:30. You know, it's that easy. But you want to make sure you have at least an hour. So if you show up around 8, you might be rushing it a little bit. We'll probably be out of here by 8:30. I seriously doubt this exam's going to take longer than an hour, really. So, but you'll have plenty of time. So if you're working on the exam and you need 3 hours, we're going to stay until the last person leaves. So you can have 3 hours, but I don't think you're going to need it. So, any other questions, comments, or concerns about the exam?
Question related to storyboard.
No. Oh, that's a good one. No storyboard questions. No questions about storyboards. That's a good one. What else you got?
Let me see. Otherwise, I'll mail you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you can always email me. We'll see. It'll take a few minutes here, just make sure. There's nothing like... That was a good one. I didn't even think about that one. Storyboards. No questions about, no, we didn't even think about it, but no questions. No questions about OpenGL either. We didn't even talk about OpenGL in the class. But for those people who weren't here, they probably would be wondering that. And I will, as soon as I get done with this, I will upload the video as well as this revised text document. So you have the revised version of it. No? Did you have a question? No. What are you laughing about? Oh. What is he saying? What are the questions? Or can I download the exam from the internet? Okay, then we're done. If you have any questions, you can always, as long as the question isn't can I have a copy of the exam, then I can. And no notes, no computers. It's close book, close notes, close neighbor, close computer, close everything. Yeah. Open mind, close neighbor. So, okay, I'll see you on Monday.